I'm Hana, your local digital artist. It's halfway through November now, which means autumn is coming to an end. So before the bustling and busy holidays, let's take a moment to be a little cozy this week and turn some desserts into cute human characters. So just sit back, get comfy, and enjoy some casual drawing and designing. But before we get to it, this video is sponsored by Life Makeover. Life Makeover is a social simulation RPG game where you can completely customize your avatar and collect and create your own clothes and styles. The game has so many outfits and customization options, but my favorite feature is being able to dye your clothing. There's so many color options, so you can try out tons of combinations. And because the game just released its PC version this November 15th, you'll be able to enjoy taking photos of your avatar in high-definition graphics. They also just released the Rose Prey banner with one of the featured outfit sets being Aphrodite's Wish. I think it's really pretty and it kind of reminds me of Renaissance fashion. The costume in-game is so detailed that you can even see the different fabric textures. You can also build your dream house in Life Makeover using the home construction feature in the game. The UI is all new and improved for the PC version, which makes it so much easier to design your house and garden to perfection. Once you have your home decorated, enjoy the many improved graphics in the PC version with a photo session and prop interaction. You can even invite your friends to your home. Life Makeover is completely free to download and play with cross-platform play. If you're interested, you can download the PC version from Steam, Epic Store, or Life Makeover's website by checking out my links in the description below. Now, back to the video. I always like to share a little bit of my thought process during art, and one thing you guys ask me is how I go about designing characters. So today I figured I'd walk you through a little bit of what goes through my head when I'm planning out a design. For today's video, I'm personifying or anthropomorphizing desserts into human characters. I am really not a fan of those words, so I just like to refer to them as gajinkas, which is the process of turning non-human things into cute human characters. You usually see them in reference to turning Pokemon into human characters, but I think it matches with what I'm doing as well. Turning objects into humans, or gajinkas, is an art design challenge that helps enforce your ability to translate concepts into designs. This is pretty important anytime you're collaborating because a lot of the time, people will usually only give you words or descriptions or concepts rather than one-to-one reference images. One technique is being able to use our creativity to pull designs out of seemingly unrelated things. In essence, we're practicing our creativity. So the first dessert image I chose for our gajinkas is by @SakuraBloomSweets on Instagram. It's a pink cherry cake with white vanilla frosting. Before I go into designing, I usually take a mental note of what each section reminds me of or inspires me. This time I'll write them down so you guys can see my mental process. I really like the fact that there's subtle cherry designs on the sides of the cake, so I want to make a big dress skirt based on that. The white frostings remind me of ruffles, so I want to add ruffles throughout the design. For the cherries, I'm thinking of doing something to do with cherry accessories using the whipped cream. Finally, for the gold piece in the middle, I'm going to use this as an opportunity to sprinkle gold accessories and trimmings throughout. Let's just write down some notes for other ideas I had. Alright, let's also do some quick notes for the next image I'm using, which is a cantaloupe and melon tart, I believe, by @AtelierAnneCakes on Instagram. I really like all the puffs, so I'm going to try to use a bunch of puffs on the design. The tart color is what I'll use for the base of the outfit. I also want to incorporate the daisies and plants just as is throughout the design. It's kind of cut off, but basically I also want to incorporate the designs that are on the dish somehow. For the overall feel, it feels bright and summery to me, so I instantly knew I wanted to do some overalls and maybe a hooded cape. I think I'm gonna do one more image, so here's this chocolate cake covered in light brown and white frosting as well as pearls and roses. Also by @SakuraBloomSweets. Right away, I knew I wanted to do a male character here, so I decided that I want a shirt with giant frilly sleeves based on the tan frosting. I'm trying to decide which color to use for the hair, skin tones, and pants. There's a lot of directions I could go, and make note of that. Let's also make sure to include the roses and pearls throughout his design. The pants should be flared out like the bottom of the cake, and I want to use the tablecloth design to inspire any other designs I might do on the character. Between the roses and frills, I'm thinking of a hopeless romantic type of design. Alright, those are all my notes. I have a pretty good idea in my head of what I want to achieve. Let's get to some drawing now. For our first design of our pink cherry cake, I knew I wanted to create a character with a romantic silhouette and outfit. So a long skirt based on the cake was necessary, and one thing I love to do with skirts is to have the character hold it up. I wanted the neckline to have a heart shape on the bust and puff sleeves. I was really inspired by cottagecore dresses with some slight Lolita fashion elements. I also added the strawberries on the whipped cream as accessories to her head and dress. We're keeping the hair swoopy and fluffy here because that's the vibe I'm getting from the cake. I'm working on some line art now, but again, we're just doing a fun casual challenge, so I'm keeping it quick and light. I usually like to refine my design elements in several stages, but I'm trying to get this process down to under 2 hours, so we're only doing one pass here. I like to think of these as practice preliminary designs that I can pull from later when I'm ready to create a full-on design for a future project. Now we're going ahead into color. I'm trying to use colors that I only find directly on the image. Also, I'm trying out a new brush here that's supposed to be able to detect the area you're trying to color using the select tool and automatically fill it in. So you're going to see me struggle a bit throughout the video trying to figure it out. For her dress, I used a light pink. Any frills we gave, I'll make it that vanilla cream color. I'll also have her skin and hair be a variant of that cream color as well. Cherries will have to be red. And anytime I have an option to add red heels, I take it because I love red heels. I also knew I wanted to add some gold trimming based on the little gold piece on the cake. And for the pattern we saw earlier on the cake, I'm adding it to her dress. I'm adding a few other touches to tie everything in together like ribbons. I think there are quite a few things I would change. I would definitely add more cherry motifs and make them larger. I also love the dress, but not so much her waist section. If that were changed, I think it would legitimately be a dress I'd have to have and would need to sew one in real life. But I think for the time limit and scope of the challenge, I achieved what I wanted with it. We're heading towards completion here, but I'm going to save the reveal into the end when I do a final reveal of all of the designs. So make sure to keep watching until then. Now let's move ahead and design our second character. For our second character, I have our cantaloupe and melon tart. I knew all these little cantaloupe and melon puffs had to be incorporated in my design somehow. These fruits are summery, so the first thing I thought of was to have a character in short overalls because they feel like summer to me. Also, anytime I think of summer, it reminds me of the woods because of hiking and camping and just overall woodsy wanderlust. I feel like the only appropriate attire for that is a hooded cape, perfect for spinning around in and getting lost. I wanted to have a pose that matched that wanderer vibe, so she's looking off to the side because she's more invested in her environment than the viewer. I'm adding scalloped edges to represent the white edges of the tart. I'm also going to add the melon and cantaloupe puffs all throughout the design. For the daisies, I'm adding one to her hood, a print on the torso of her overalls, as well as having them stuffed in her pockets. As I'm doing the line art, I also decided to add stripe designs to better emphasize the tarts. I also make the puffs using the border effect by using a large white brush and simply clicking the circles into place. I like to do this to quickly get my ideas down because drawing each circle individually with approximately the same size and symmetry would be pretty time consuming. Remember, the goal with these is to practice getting ideas out quickly. I'll also add the plants from my earlier notes, as well as that design from the dish that I liked. For the colors, I have the Cape Be our cream color. Also, I'm adding the tart color to our overalls and shirt. I also wanted to incorporate some variations of it in our skin tone and hair. I also noticed that all the puffs were sitting atop a lemony yellow custard, so I used that for the main portion of our overalls. Can't forget to add the orange and green for our cantaloupes and melons as well. I also think I'm getting the hang of the coloring brush, but I'm not so sure yet. I do think I like this design. It incorporates a lot of things I enjoy. However, I think I'd like more of the cantaloupe and melons incorporated into the design somehow. This would be the time that I do a second and third pass to adjust colors as well as add and remove things to fit my vision more. Also, doesn't she look so fun and comfy? I think of backpack or a basket and she's ready for a full day of adventuring. We're pretty much done here, but I'll save the reveal for the end. Be patient with me, we're almost there. For now, let's move on to our next design. For our third character, we have the chocolate and tan rose cake. You guys always ask for more guys, so here I am trying to draw more. I have a long way to go in improving how I want my guys drawn. I have a vision, I just need to learn to execute it better. For our design, I want to show the giant flared sleeves in two different angles. So one arm up and one arm down. Immediately, I knew I wanted to give him that deep V-neck princely dress shirt with puff sleeves. The pants will be flared, but they will have that essential tight fit for a romantic prince aesthetic. I played around with the aesthetics and I wanted to give him a pearl belt. I debated a pearl collar, but changed this later. For the hair, I wasn't too inspired on what to do. I just decided to make it long and add pearls to his hair. As I line, I decided that I wanted to give him a long ribbon collar. I love this kind of accessory because it makes them look like a gift perfectly wrapped up for you. I'm coming up with a design for his pants here, which I was slightly inspired by with a tablecloth, but really I ended up just doing my own thing. There were quite a few rose petals scattered on the cake, so I really like the idea of roses dropping without notice from his giant sleeves. Maybe he's always romantically picking rose petals out while playing They Love Me Not, which causes a bunch to fall into and be hidden in his sleeves. For colors, I wanted to keep a classic look with a light top and dark pants, so I made his shirt that white color we see throughout and used that dark chocolate color for his pants. For his hair, I'm going to use that tan color we see mostly throughout the cake. Also, I'm struggling a lot with trying to get the new coloring brush to work, so I just went right back to using the fill bucket. I don't know, something about trying to remember exactly where my lines start and end doesn't really work for me because my lines are full of gaps. We'll add the rose color with his ribbon being red as well. I like the design, but I don't think I fully captured the complete aesthetic I had in my head. I do think it's a really good start though, and it's good for me to practice these things before I have to do it for real in a big project. I want to improve a lot more, so I'm going to make that a big goal for myself in 2024. We're just about finished with this design. It's been really fun doing this dessert Gajinko's challenge. Alright, without further ado, here is the final reveal of all the designs we did for our dessert Gajinko transformations. I hope you guys enjoyed this casual fun challenge. I think we'll be doing more Gajinko transformations in the future if you guys enjoyed it. Let me know. Until next time, I'm wishing you all the best on your journeys of achieving your goals and dreams. Bye!